everyone. I'd like to say thank you very much for all your comments and feedback on my last video. I very much appreciate them. This video is made up of a variety of objects from a few different mudlarking outings over the last few months. Now, as you can see, I'm nowhere near the River Thames at the moment. I'm actually in Northern California, but just around the corner there is a beach called Drake's Beach, and it does have a link to the UK. So here I am in California, walking along this beach where there are elephant seals occasionally. It's completely deserted, it's so wild, it's really beautiful. Over here there's another elephant seal having a nap. In 1579, it's rumoured that Sir Francis Drake stopped at that beach and pulled his ship, the Golden Hind, up onto it to undergo repairs, and he stayed there for a month. Also, during that time, he claimed California for England, calling it New England or Nova Albion. Now, Sir Francis Drake was a renowned seafarer, pirate, navigator and adventurer during Elizabethan times, and he was the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe from 1577 to 1580. He was much loved by Queen Elizabeth I and not loved at all by Philip of Spain due to the fact that he plundered so many of his ships. He was also, unfortunately, one of the first British slave traders undergoing trips with Sir John Hawkins, his cousin, abroad to West Africa, where he captured men and women to be slaves in the New World. He's also credited, of course, for helping to introduce tobacco to the UK, along with Sir Walter Raleigh. In fact, he's rumoured to have introduced Sir Walter Raleigh to tobacco. And so this clay pipe that I have here on Point Reyes, near the cliffs in Northern California, around the corner from Drake's Beach, also has a slight and tentative link with the area. So thank you very much for joining me on my mudlarking expedition. I'm going to come back here afterwards and do a little roundup. I've brought a few of my artefacts along. I thought what better place to do it than just around the corner from Drake's Beach. There's a little pipe bowl that's just been exposed. Pipe bowl from the 1700s. There's the end of a bullet here. I've just looked down and seen what looks like a little china doll face. I'm going to zoom in on it. There she is. So I'm going to take a closer look. I wonder how long she's been here. Oh, she's a beautiful example of a china doll's head. Look at that wonderful hairstyle. Let's give her a little rinse off. A little hair wash. There she is. A little bit faded, but Still very proud looking, and I'm guessing she would have come from a doll whose arms and legs and head were made of china, and then the body would have been made of fabric, probably. She does look a bit disgruntled. She would have been forgotten in the mud for all those years. But it's okay, I found you now. I wonder who owned this little doll once upon a time. It's my friend the crow over there, just having his breakfast. I've just seen something interesting under this piece of metal here, if you can see it. Looks like a little label or something, but it's metal, quite delicate, and I wonder what it's got written on it. Let's have a look. So here it is. Oh, how cute. So it's got sweet milk by somebody, John somebody and son. And where's it from? From Finis Fisher, London, something like that. Well, that's going to be a lot of fun researching that. Very, very delicate. How fragile and how special. In those rocks over there, I've just seen a little face that I recognise. Just here. It's E.T. E.T. It's a blast from the past. Hello. Oh, I've just seen what looks like a little watch winder upper. Here, isn't it cute? Look at what it says on it. Oh, how dainty is that? Oops. She goes and drops it. Hopefully we'll be able to find out some more information about it by reading what's on it. But I think these were used for winding up little watches or little clocks. Now this down here looks like a watch winder. Admittedly, it's a bit dirty. We'll need to give it a clean off, which I shall do at home, but it looks like a little watch winder upper. I'll give it a clean later and we can see if there's anything on it. I love it when you find the tiniest little thing and you think, what on earth is that used for? Like that. It looks like an elf's dialing bit from a telephone. It's tiny. But one day it obviously had a purpose. So just there is the tip of a pipe. See? So let's see how much of the pipe is in there. Oh, there it is. So here's for the pipe extraction part. Not terribly long, but it's always fun pulling them out of the mud. Just spotted a dinosaur down here. Hello. It's a day of tiny finds today, and I've just found a tiny weeny little iron. The teeniest little thing. This is interesting. I've just found an old tube of something which is relatively unspoiled, considering it's probably been in the mud for a very long time. A cool tar. To look that up. There's part of a broken bottle here, I think, but it's got a quite nice design on the front. Looks like it's made in Margate. Margate is not far from where my son lives. He lives in Ramsgate. And my son, who's an excellent musician, by the way. Bit of trivia for you. Yeah. How nice is that? Margate. Probably Reeds or Reed and Sons from Margate. I'll have to look them up. Reed something, anyway. So here we are again, back in Northern California, and I'm going to find a little spot out of the wind to sit down here and do a little roundup of the objects that were featured in today's video. Now firstly, I just want to have a look at these pipe bowls here. Tobacco is officially introduced to the UK in around about 1580, but it's almost certain that some of the sailors on Sir Francis Drake's ships would have been smoking tobacco a lot earlier than that, probably from 1560 onwards. And this bowl was one of the earlier types and probably dates back to that sort of late 16th century, around about 1580. You can see it's very small, and it would have been because the tobacco was a lot more expensive then. And then gradually the bowls got bigger. And you can tell the age of a pipe bowl really by its size. The tiny ones dating back a lot earlier, and then gradually getting bigger over the years. So this one would have been later, probably mid-17th century. In fact, here's one that's even smaller. So you can see the gradual increase in size here. And then, of course, in the late 18th, early 19th century, it was a lot more common to have the decorated pipe bowls. But certainly Sir Francis Drake had a hand in that, along with Sir Walter Raleigh and the other adventurers coming back from the Americas to introduce tobacco to the UK. And of course, not everyone was happy about it, especially King James, who said, "Herein is not only great vanity, but a great contempt at God's good gifts, that the sweetness of man's breath, being a good gift of God, should be wilfully corrupted by this stinking smoke." So yes, King James was very anti, and he was one of the first to impose tax on tobacco. Next, let's have a look at this little alloy, like metal alloy label, marked with sweet milk, made by John Moyer and Son, Aberdeen, Finnis and Fisher, London. Now, John Moyer was born in 1766, died in 1833, and he was a pioneer in the manufacturing of preserved food, and the business was established in Aberdeen in 1822. Amongst other things, they made condensed milk, marmalade, jams, jelly powder and baking powder, and he was the first person in Britain to mass produce tinned fish, mostly salmon apparently. An interesting fact is that they also had the contract to provide preserved meats to British and French troops during the Crimean War in the mid-1850s, and in fact Robert Falcon Scott took Moyer tinned meat with him on his fatal expedition to the Antarctic. The company entered voluntary liquidation in 1950. They also produced pickled Aberdeen ox tongue. Yum. And also in 1878, King Alfonso of Spain allowed them to have a factory to make marmalade from Seville oranges there. And this was something that they used to market very, very aggressively about and say that they were the only company to actually be able to make marmalade in Seville, which meant that the oranges didn't get damaged on their way to the UK, where most other people at that point were making marmalade. So their marmalade was very, very popular. And now let's take a look at this tube of cool tan. I'd first thought that it said cool tar, but it's actually cool tan. And after my research, I could see that the PR department certainly had a lot of fun with this. For a suntan that's smart, instead of a sunburn that smarts, use cool tan. And not only that, they sort of encouraged you to be a little bit smug about your tan, by saying you'll be so proud of this exciting tan when you see others who have not used cool tan burnt and blistered. So for that California tan, rush out and buy some cool tan.
Take it.
Next, let's have a look at this little tiny pocket watch key. In fact, there's two of them, of course. Now, this first one here is not as ornate, but it's still a pocket watch key. But this other one, which I found on a different outing, is rather delicate and ornate. And on it, it says Dipples, or Dipple, Ipswich, election 1892. Now, Dipples was founded in 1878. George Henry Dipple was a watchmaker, and they still exist, in fact. They're described as a family jeweller, and they're in Norwich, but it was founded in 1878, and in 88 it was relocated to Ipswich. So they've been going nearly 140 years. And these keys were used to wind up the pocket watches by opening the back, as I understand it. And sometimes they were used for adverts, sometimes they had just ornate designs, but this one clearly was used for something to do with the election campaign of 1892, and I couldn't actually find anything out about that. So if anyone knows why that may have been the case or knows anything about it, please let me know. So as you can see there, it says Dipple, Ipswich, election 1892. And on the other side, there's a variety of figures and letters and numbers, the meaning of which I'm really not certain about. And the top still turns really nicely there. So a very pretty little key. And here's the two of them together. And now let's take a look at some of these toys. Some of them are older than others. Let's start with the oldest one first. And here we've got this torso of a little china doll, which probably dates back to Victorian times, I should think. And then here we have this tiny little toy iron. Probably came from a doll's house, I expect. And then moving forward to the newer toys, this dinosaur. I'm really not terribly sure of the actual function of this dinosaur. Maybe somebody knows. It looks like it fits on top of something. And here we have E.T. Now this could be a little vintage toy as well. Perhaps it's an old McDonald's toy. I'm not terribly sure. If you recognise it, please let me know. Perhaps it was a free gift with a comic. And then what do we have? This piece of pottery here, which originates from Margate. Possibly Reeves, and it's got CR on it. Again, I haven't found out where that comes from, but probably a brewery or an ale house in Margate in Kent. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave you now with some clips of some of the stunning wildlife from California, Point Reyes and Larkspur, some of the areas that I've been visiting over the last week or so. So I'll see you again soon, and please do subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see some more videos. That would be great. So just click the subscribe button, and I hope to see you again very, very soon. Bye.
Take a